Thank you so much. Yeah, so I have my own script. I can do whatever I want. I don't have anybody saying, oh, we didn't like that angle.
That's so nice.
After you get off of the air and they're like, yeah, so like, I didn't like this question. I don't have that. I just look in the mirror. I'm like, are we good? Yeah, good.
Yeah, done.
All right, so shall we begin?
Let's do it.
All right, so welcome to Unscripted Turbulence. Today, it's all about manners. Isn't that right, Mr. Thomas Farley?
Every day should be about manners.
No, the reason I say that is because Thomas Farley is also known as Mr. Manners.
That's right. Yes.
So we have a long journey ahead of us to talk about how you got to be Mr. Manners. Mm-hmm. And I tell all my listeners and watchers how we got to know each other. And that's how we're going to start this. So Mr. Manners and I got to know each other when I was at Fox 5, and there was some story I was doing. I don't even remember what story it was. I believe it was outside.
I think you're right. We were outside on the street somewhere. I know we wound up later doing a subway etiquette where we were down in the bowels of the New York City subway system.
Yes.
But you're right. We were outside somewhere. It was something happening in the news that week.
Right. And I also recall this because I found a picture of us and we were posing and it was a hot day that day. Uh-huh. But if you're watching, you'll see that Mr. Manners here, also known as Thomas Farley, is dressed to the nines. And that day he was dressed to the nines. I think it was a July day because I had this like little dress on. Uh-huh. My hair was plastered down. And today, when you listen to this, it's hopefully not going to be rainy and disgusting like it is out today. And I apologize for my appearance because I look like I just got out of the shower. I usually have a better bouffant.
Yeah, I think both of us are suffering the deflated bouffant today.
Oh my gosh.
I got caught in the downpour, so apologies for
the manners
not my
already.
normal.
So it's a rainy, crappy day, and it's so far I've been good at coming in here and doing my thing. I think the first two episodes I did about my journey in TV, it was raining, and I was like so apropos. And then it was sunny and wonderful and. Today is not that.
Until today. Well, we'll try to bring some sunshine in the conversation.
We're going to. Okay. So let's start with your exact title, because I call you Mr. Manners, and that's kind of how you're also known. But what is your title? Yeah,
so this is funny, Raegan. I actually get asked, is Manners your last name?
Really?
Like as if literally I am Mr. Thomas Manners, which would be kind of a fun name. So I'm an etiquette expert. I commentate throughout all platforms of media, and we can talk a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah.
But my focus is on bringing kindness, consideration to the everyday living that we all do. So it's not, there's Downton Abbey, yes. There are wonderful Bridgerton, interpretations of what etiquette is perceived to be or maybe used to be, maybe we wish still was. That's not my role. My role is to think about our everyday interactions in New York City in particular, but well beyond, and how we can be kinder to one another. And so I spend my days either commentating in media. I do a weekly segment with a channel out in Colorado called Mr. Manners Mondays, which is super fun. Yeah, yes. And
congratulations.
Thank you.
I didn't know that.
Thank you. Yeah. That I've been doing for about a year. And I mentioned I was on Inside Edition filming with them today. We're doing a little thing on trick-or-treating etiquette because it's Halloween is tomorrow. Mm-hmm. But yes, so I do that. And then on top of that, I work with companies and universities that will bring me in to work with their team members to elevate their professionalism, their communication skills, sometimes their dining etiquette, which often needs quite a bit of work. But it's really fun because I effectively get to speak to literally audiences of millions through the opportunities I get as a guest on television, not working full-time in TV like you were, but a periodic guest on various networks. And then going out across the country and throughout North America, in fact, working with groups who are seeking to brush up, not necessarily what for work goes where, but more, I had a difficult conversation with my boss. How do I respond? Or I work in customer service. How can I be a better version of myself with my customers, especially if they're angry? So all aspects of communication, if you're using a noun and a verb, whether through your nonverbals, through your written communication or your spoken communication, I'm there to assist.
This is fabulous. Now, if, for those of you tuning in and you're wondering, wow, why now? So yes, Thomas has mentioned that tomorrow is Halloween, but this episode is not airing until the day before Thanksgiving. And the reason I chose Thomas to be this episode is because we all know that when the holidays are upon us, there are a lot of emotions, opinions, and feelings that are mixed up. And I had a couple of questions of my own, how to kind of navigate conversations, very sticky, which includes when crazy Uncle Joe wants to talk about politics at the dinner table. And we do not talk about politics on this podcast because I did enough of that during my news days. But I feel it's important to talk about when that comes up. We will get to that. That's a little teaser, little appetizer. So Thomas, where are you from? Let's start from the way beginning.
Sure. So not too far, stone's throw from where we are today. I grew up in Bergen County, New Jersey.
Oh.
Catholic school boy, went to Catholic school, grammar school, high school, and then went to Fordham University here in New York.
A Ram.
Yes.
You're a Ram.
I'm a proud Fordham Ram. That's right.
All right. Nice.
Yes. And funny enough, and I don't know if you know this about me, but my goal was to work in television. So I was that little boy who at age 5 and 6 was doing book reports with little news reports. And, I'd draw pictures of myself with a microphone. And so television was always the dream. Went to Fordham, started out as a communications major, and ultimately found the program and worked at WFUV, which is the local station there that broadcasts all over the tri-state area. And worked for the newspaper, the Fordham Ram. But I ultimately discovered that the program there wasn't as strong as I hoped it might be for communications. So I switched to political science. And
you switched to political.
That was a hard pivot.
This is not about politics. This one's going to political science route. Although I was pretty good in political science.
I bet you were.
Yeah, I was in history, oddly enough. But political science, why?
I was thinking about becoming a lawyer. I completely changed my mindset about where I wanted to be.
Which tends to happen in college, right?
So often. As well as, I think, when I talk to young high school students who are worried about what am I going to major in, I usually tell them, don't worry, major in whatever you want to major in. You will be what you want to be, and your course and your path, just like you, just like me, will take you to many unexpected places. But yeah, so communications became a minor, political science was the major. And
get out of here. And I also want to add with this whole, if there is a high school senior listening, wouldn't that be cool? Don't stress about what you're going to school for. Yes, did I go to school for what I eventually did in my life as a career? Yes. But I am like 3% of people who do that. Okay.
It's so rare.
I have so many of my friends who went in for one thing, came out, dabbled in that, go, nope, hard left, went back to school, or went totally different.
That's right.
So please don't stress yourself out.
No.
Not worth it.
No, it's not. Study what your heart tells you. Go where your passions are. In the case, especially, I think of a liberal arts education, which is what I had in political science, you really can go. It teaches you to communicate. It teaches you to think critically. It teaches you to write well. All of those disciplines, all those core requirements, the philosophy I had to study and the history and the languages I had to take as an undergraduate at Fordham, they put me in the exact right position for pretty much any career I decided to pursue. But never did I imagine I'd be doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah. Okay. So now you graduate. You graduated with a major in political science, minor in?
That's correct. In communications. Okay. Yes. And I was young. I was 20 when I graduated. I went through school in 3 years because
20.
I had some AP credits coming in and some college credits that I'd taken in high school. So I only had 3 years of college to decide what it was I was going to do for the rest of my life.
Whoa. Wow.
It was daunting. I wasn't legal to drink my entire college career.
So that's what I'm thinking to myself. I'm like, I remember turning 21 when I was at Temple University. Go Owls. And that was wild. Whoa. And you didn't get to experience that.
I turned 21 the fall of the year after I was a graduate. So I graduated in May. I didn't turn 21 until that following fall.
Did you have a job at that point?
I did. Yes.
Wow. You went right in.
I did.
Okay.
I ultimately decided, you know what? I love writing. It's what I was that kid in high school and in grammar school. People would come and say, would you write my paper for me? Would you please write my paper for me?
Mr. Manners, did you write the papers? Will you admit to writing other people's papers on this podcast, or is this off the record?
I don't know that I actually ever wrote anyone's papers, but I certainly gave them comments and edits, and if they were experiencing writer's block, I was always happy to assist. I was the kid, if you remember Blue Books, taking exams in Blue Books, right?
I thought I'd never hear that word again.
Both
those two words together, Blue Books.
I'd be the one that during the exam, the teacher would be yanking the books out of because I always had more I wanted to say. So I was never the one like, done. Those kids 5 minutes in, they're done. They put it on the teacher's desk and they walk out. You think, did I miss the memo here somehow? So writing has never been, it's something I've always been very passionate about.
Wow. So then you went into the writing. So this is when you got your job at Town.
So I started out for about a year. I started working in the world of trade magazines. So of all things, so trade magazines, so not magazines you'd find on a newsstand or in Barnes & Noble, but for specific industry. There was a position near to where I grew up in Bergen County, working for a magazine of all boring things about the packaging industry. So, cardboard box technology, plastic bottle technology. I mean...
Ooh, Mr. Manners, you're really getting my blood going here.
Exactly. But let me tell you, it was...
Go on. What about the tape?
Yes.
Tell me about the tape.
Yes. Caps and closures was one issue.
Oh, stop.
So... Every subscriber has just turned off the episode saying, I'll wait till next week when there's a more interesting topic.
They're right. Medgie's getting real hot and heavy about packing. You have no idea. No idea.
So anyway, I knew nothing about it. It was not my area of specialty. But what I did know was good writing, good editing. And we really, in a year before the magazine ultimately folded, we really, I think, did a nice job turning at least the editorial content around. Went from there very quickly to a magazine for the business aviation industry, which was fascinating. Flying on Learjets and Gulfstreams and going to air shows.
On all these?
Flying on, yes, as a writer
reporter.
reporter.
You do know that my husband, whose name will still be anonymous, I call him Pilot.
Yes,
Wow.
I think, and I've heard you refer to your husband that way. I think you need to have your pilot episode. I know you already had your first episode,
I've been
but
trying.
you need to.
So if I do this is my plan of attack.
Yes.
Okay. So I told him this and he says, nope. He will be we'll be in this room. This is my plan. Mm-hmm. He'll be in that chair.
Yes.
And the cameras are going to be off center. So all you'll see is like his knee to his foot.
Oh, that's fair.
Right?
Sure.
You won't see him, but you'll hear him.
Right.
This is my plan. And we will talk. Now, he doesn't talk a lot. So he'll stare at me and he'll want me to fill in the awkward silence. But I'm working on this. And I keep saying maybe, the 6-month anniversary of the show or the year. And he says, nope, this is your thing. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. So I'm still working on it. But yes.
I could see a total left seat, right seat thing for you. So you're basically sitting in the co-pilot's seat of a cockpit of an airplane. And sure, just, you see the rudder, you see the altimeter, but you don't see his face. Why not? And you're there in the co-pilot spot.
I might have to talk to you a little bit more about this and to appropriately, with etiquette.
How to frame it.
Yes. You're the one to turn to.
Sure.
Look at that. We're all learning today.
Yes.
Okay.
So Business Aviation Magazine was just a thrill, traveled the world.
Oh, wow.
But ultimately, still as a young editor, having graduated, I'm now 23, 24, I thought there is more to the world of magazines than trade magazines. So this was another trade magazine read by pilots, perhaps read by your husband. But read by Pilot.
Yes.
So I wound up applying for a position at a magazine that was going to be brand new, founded by a gentleman from Ireland called The World of Hibernia. And it was his description of what he was envisioning was town and country for the Irish expats and descendants around the world. So the 70 million strong globally who claim some Irish ancestry. So it was art, architecture, fashion, literature, equestrian. At a high-end level, it was a coffee table magazine, very minimal advertising by design, $15 a newsstand copy, which was very expensive at the time, still expensive for a magazine. And so I was the launch editor for this magazine, not knowing what I had gotten into, but loving every step of the way. We had a tiny, tiny staff quarterly producing this publication that looked like it came from Condé Nast or from Hearst. It was a phenomenal experience.
How long were you there with them?
5 years there. And ultimately, I gave just about every ounce of blood, sweat, and tears I had to this job. Loved it to death, but also realized the magazine itself, I was at the pinnacle of the publication. I was the editor-in-chief by this point.
Yeah.
But I also realized there was really nowhere that I could go beyond that. Whereas when you work for a large publishing house, you shine in one magazine, you climb the ranks in that magazine, then you go to a bigger magazine, and a bigger magazine ultimately getting to the top.
Yeah, I never knew how that worked, actually.
That's
I know TV. Magazine is not my thing.
But it's similar. It's a similar concept. You know, you may, in TV, maybe you started as a junior reporter in Wichita, and then, little by little.
Wichita's a big market, so let's go even smaller.
Even smaller.
Let's roll over there, Thomas.
Sorry.
Mr. Manners. Yeah, maybe like middle of nowhere, Nebraska-ish. That, and then you kind of climb the ranks. Yeah, okay.
Nice station in Lincoln, maybe.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Might do it. Similar with magazines. So you you get your feet wet. There I was at that packaging magazine, but ultimately working my way to having been at the Town and Country for the Irish set to actually going to work for Town and Country, which is owned by Hearst Magazines. And
so that's how you got into Town and Country.
That's how I got to Town and Country. Yes. Wow. Yeah, there were several editors there who were big fans of The World of Hibernia, which was the magazine I'd been at, and would very lovely send notes after an issue would come out. Keep doing the wonderful work you're doing.
Isn't that the best?
We admire you. And I'm think, this is like having, I don't know, like having Peter Jennings or Dan Rather or Diane Sawyer saying, Raegan, I love that report you did on such and such. You felt like you'd really made the big time, that you were even on their radar. So sure enough, I had an informational interview at Town and Country. I thought I was there because I wanted to go work for Esquire. And so this was going to be an informational interview. And while I was there, they said, your timing is impeccable because we actually have not one, but 2 openings here, which almost never happens. People get to this magazine and they never leave. They love it. Would you be interested? So like you in some of your recent roles, I started out in a fill-in part-time freelancer role. And after 3 months, my editor-in-chief came to me and said, how'd you like to make this a permanent arrangement? They put a ring on it. And thus began my chapter at Town and Country, which was just absolutely glorious.
And how long were you there for?
I was there for 5 years as well.
Wow.
Yes, excuse me. No, it was more than 5 years. I was there for almost a decade. Yes.
And what did you write about?
So I had several columns there. I was a features editor. So Town and Country, for your listeners who know the magazine, it's everything. It's travel, it's fashion, it's food. So I had some super fun columns, Raegan. I had a column called On the Town, which was all about dining and nightlife in cities around the globe. So the coolest restaurant in Paris.
So you'd go to these places.
Sometimes I would actually visit. They would be short little kind of blurbs. So I had a stable of writers across the globe, people in Singapore, people in London. So I, as their assigning editor, would check in with them. So what's happening in Berlin these days? What's the hot restaurant? What's the hot theater to go to? And then, of course, New York, I was covering pretty extensively myself. But when I traveled, I'd also write these blurbs myself.
That is phenomenal.
It was a delight and a half. And let me tell you, being at a magazine like that, I don't know if the same is true for TV, the invitations you would get on, and being in New York, on any given night of the week, I would just kind of open up my invite folder for that day and think, oh, what should I go to tonight? It was really, really wonderful. And being in media, I have never taken for granted. You get a window into things, you get opportunities to meet people and see things.
You really do.
That the everyday person does not get to.
No.
And I never took that for granted. I always cherished it, loved it, and embraced it to the fullest.
Yeah, and just with such like a heart of gratitude too, because news, yes, we would get invited, but our hours are so nuts, and if there's breaking news, those invites kind of go out the door, and it's a lot. But it really is neat when you do get that behind the scenes look at things,
yes.
And sometimes you can actually include that in your report. You really get a window, and you get to, and your duty as a media person is to let people know who follow you or watch you. This is what it looks like. This is what it felt like and smelled like, and it is really spectacular. That is really cool. I will never dog on that. Like, that is a very cool part of the job.
It comes with a great responsibility to know that you may be the one and only person your reader or your viewer knows who ever has experienced this. So, for example, I had the chance to travel to Antarctica for the magazine. and thinking, how many of my readers will ever have this experience? I need to bring this to them as vividly as I possibly can. So it was extraordinary. But again, a responsibility I never took lightly and something I never really tired of.
Okay, so we had about a decade there.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happened?
So in 2008, the whole world fell apart with the economy, as some of us may remember, the economic crash. And so Hearst went through a very large round of layoffs and cutbacks. Hearst is a privately owned corporation, which has insulated it from a lot of the changes that other publicly held newspapers and magazines have gone through in multiple sales and mergers and all. Hearst has been able to insulate itself from that by and large, but they're also very smart about the way they manage their funds and the way they adapt to the times. So they did a huge round of layoffs, and I was caught up in that. But one nice holdover of my time at Town & Country was, in addition to on Town column I mentioned, this is where the etiquette work began. So I had another one of my columns was called the Social Graces column. And that was the magazine's monthly look at everyday issues of etiquette and behavior. So the column became so popular, we wound up publishing a book, which was called Modern Manners, The Thinking Person's Guide to Social Graces, which was an anthology of the column. And when that came out, this, Raegan, is where the dream finally came full circle for me. That young 7-year-old boy wanting to do television, the PR team at Hearst said, Thomas, would you be willing to go on TV? Yes, say no more. Yes, whatever you're about to say next. The answer is yes, 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 and yes. So I had the chance to go on TV talking about the book. And that's where that began.
No way. So would you say like you wrote the book too?
I had a couple chapters in there. It was an anthology of the column. So the column wasn't it was mine to envision and to edit, but I would work with other writers. And I am a writer, but as an editor, you're not now you're doing everything like in TV. But
yes,
filming, editing, social media, you know that. But traditionally at magazines, again, not so much the case anymore. You, as an editor, you didn't do a whole lot of writing. You did mostly assigning and editing your writer's writing. But whenever I had the chance, because I do love writing, I would write as well. So this book had 1 or 2 chapters that I did, but it was, kind of selecting the chapters and curating which essays would go in it. And it was a delight to have my name on a book that I could then go out in media to speak about.
Wow. So what was your first media outlet that you went on?
I remember it so well. So it was WNBC here in New York.
Oh, no way.
Yes. You maybe know Carolyn Gussoff.
Yeah, I worked with her over at CBS too, and I worked there. Okay. She left the NBC and then went over to the CBS.
Yes, so she was anchoring a Sunday morning at, I don't know, 7 a.m.
morning shows, yeah.
On a Sunday.
I've been there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the only people were watching were maybe the producer or the newsroom person, and maybe my parents. That was about it.
I had a professor that would say that those are the shows that like 3 old women and a goat would watch.
Yes, exactly.
My professor has since passed on. God bless you, Rick. See, I told you, Rick Beardsley, Temple University, I would be mentioning, look at me now. But yeah, he would always say that when we had a Temple update. He was like, listen, you can say what you want on this show because only 3 old women and a goat are watching. So yes, go on.
But those goats can be very judgy. So be careful what you say, even if it's just one goat. So that started some of the TV work while I was at Town & Country. And ultimately, I'm happy to report, 7 a.m. on a Sunday turned into 2 p.m. on a weekday turned into more primetime work.
Yeah, I saw you on the Today Show.
A couple networks you might be familiar with.
I saw you on the Today Show.
Yeah. So the NBC relationship became a really nice one and has continued to be. But I'm platform agnostic. So it's not just, I'm not bound to just NBC or CBS or any of them. I really, if you're a network, if you're a local station or a national station that looks to cover this important content, I'm there to speak about it. So it really ballooned. What happened, if we want to go there?
Let's go there.
Okay, so this is where I think our stars and our stories really align.
Yep.
So I, having gone from feeling like I was on top of the world, but to be fair, also starting to get a little bit bored and feeling like I wasn't challenging myself any longer, laid off, I almost immediately created an online video television network called New York Insider TV. And this was me going out on the red carpet, which I'd never done before, interviewing just about every and any celebrity you could possibly imagine coming through New York on whatever junket, on whatever big, the Time 100 awards, me out there with Entertainment Tonight and Access Hollywood and all of them. And what was really funny, it was brand new, Raegan, and I'd get people coming over to say, I love your show. And I'd think, that is such a fake thing to say, but thank you, because we haven't even had an episode yet. But
they probably wanted to be on TV. That was like their way to try to get on. Now, that was back in what year? 2000?
So that was 2009 through 12, 13.
Okay, because now I always from what I understand, it's before 9/11, so it was easier to get media passes and press passes. How were you able to go on the red carpets and?
So this was well after September 11th. So 2009.
Because I know after that everything got really hard. Because listen, when you're in the media, you have a press pass here in New York City. I did not have one when I was up in Elmira, New York, or in Scranton, or in the Poconos, or in Allentown, and I don't even. They might have them out in LA. I'm not sure, but here in New York City, you have I actually have my press pass. I don't have to bring it out, but anyway, it's in my bag. It's expired. It's fine, but I just carry it just in case. You never know.
Sure.
So you have this press pass, and it says it's approved by the NYPD. Now it's something different with the mayor's office. But you have to show that you are part of the media, what outlet. I believe it also comes with a letter from the news director. There's a whole rigmarole.
Sure.
Just so what that does is allows you on the red carpet or behind the tape, the crime scene tape, within an area.
Yes.
So how were you able, you didn't have to do that? Or?
I didn't. So actually I did have a press pass, but it was not something I had it from my time at Town & Country.
Okay.
But I did not need that. So typically a red carpet event, that's as opposed to a news event, a fire or a shooting or something like that. Right, exactly. You are there at the invitation of a public relations team who's doing PR for that event. And their goal is to get as much coverage for their client, whoever the client might be, as possible. So what was really wonderful for me is I had all those existing relationships. On day one following my layoff, out went the email. I had already registered my domain, which I had done previously because I was doing some blogging. So I had an email address, smart. I had a website. So when this happened, it was, boom, I'm no longer at Town & Country, enjoyed working with you. Here's my new outlet. Well, I thought I was going to be persona non grata. You're going from a known, beautiful circulation, wonderful publication to, despite the fact that people said they knew the show that didn't even exist, to a nothing entity that I was looking to build. I knew what it was going to be, but no one else did. Didn't matter. The publicists, the invitations started pouring in more than ever. So really then I had to assemble my team of videographers, of editors, graphics, because I really wanted this to be slick. It wasn't just going to be me with an iPhone shooting. It was going to be the real deal, and it was. So that's how I got the access, but they were delighted to have me there.
Wow. And that was 3 years?
That was about 3 years, yeah.
Wow. All right. So 3 years is up. Now, what is the next step here?
So all the while, I'm still doing these TV interviews. And again, much to my surprise, I really thought once that nameplate is slid out of the door and you're no longer at a known publication, that my role and my exposure, my platform as Mr. Manners, which really didn't even exist in that form yet. I was Thomas Farley from Town & Country speaking on etiquette as the editor of the Social Graces column. I really thought that would fade away. And to my surprise and delight, the invitations kept coming. And that's when Today's Show started and when CBS Early Show started, when I was doing that a little bit early on. And I think not having the affiliation with the magazine served as a boost rather than a detriment to these invitations. And from what I would hear from news directors and producers would be, I didn't fit the traditional stereotypical image of what someone thinks of when they think of etiquette. They think someone who's super fussy, someone who's tisk-tisking everybody, probably British,
Oh yeah, very, very snooty almost, stuffy.
Exactly.
You can't really relate to them. You can't have a real conversation. You feel like you have to be on guard. Am I saying the right thing? I don't know.
Very much. And you're 125 years old and you wear your hair in a bun and you have half glasses and all of that hang around your neck.
You're only 100, right. So it's fine.
Yes, I'm fine. I still have another 50 years where you don't have to worry about that. So I think that was a big part of from what I've heard, of the appeal of having it, male, younger, understanding technology, able to communicate effectively to a TV audience. So the invitations started pouring in, but I was focusing none of my time or energy on it. I was all in on this red carpet thing.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Here the universe is telling you, hey, there's something to this.
Exactly.
And you're like, just wait.
Yeah. And the universe had to wait. I wish it hadn't had to wait as long as it did. Loved the red carpet experience. Met phenomenal people. So proud of the body of work that I did. Still out there on YouTube somewhere.
How do we find it?
Yeah. So the show was called New York Insider TV.
Okay.
So the YouTube channel is still out there.
Get out of here.
Again, you name the celebrity, I had the opportunity, very gratefully, to be able to interview them.
Okay.
So super fun.
Okay.
But these invites keep coming in, and I'm now staring down the fumes of my bank account as I've been pouring everything I have into this TV network, hoping for online advertising, sponsors, and you would get respectable, YouTube would cut you a check for $32.83,
That's what I have to look forward to.
Yes, this is what's in your future.
Jeez, okay.
Call your financial advisor right now. You need to know where you're putting that money when it comes in. But I probably not soon enough saw the writing on the wall of this industry. It was just something, bootstrapping it myself without a major corporate entity behind me for something that I was, again, it was outlay. I was writing checks constantly, had a great team, no revenue from me. And I thought, this is not sustainable over the long term. So what's next? And much to my surprise, a friend of mine who did corporate training said, you do all this etiquette work. And as you know, and again, you talk a lot about inside baseball stuff on this podcast. As a guest on a television show, you don't expect nor are you paid. You go, you offer your expertise. Sometimes, again, I was up at 6 a.m. this morning going up to the sticks of New Jersey to do an episode, and I'm delighted to do it. I am honored to have the privilege. But it's not for the money, because there is literally none in being a guest on shows. Mm-hmm. So I thought, okay, how do I take this platform? You Google my name, you Google Manners. My search results were phenomenal, but that's still not sustaining a livelihood in New York City. How do I turn this around? How do I use this exposure that people would kill for and hire PR agencies for? I had none of that. It was just all organic, PR coming right in my direction. How do I leverage that in a way that makes sense? And I'll never forget the very first time I was on the Today Show. And that was the biggest thing I'd ever done, being on with Savannah and Savannah and Carson, actually, that particular day.
Oh my!
And Savannah, she was just as sweet as could be. And I know you were thinking, your teachers had said you should be the next Katie Couric.
Oh, you're good. Yes, they did.
Who I've also met, and she was filling in one week. I met her. She was delightful.
Oh, that's awesome. I haven't met her. I haven't yet met her.
She's great. You will love her when you meet her. But Savannah looked at me and she said, literally, as soon as the cameras rolled, and you don't have, as you know, on a live TV show, you have minutes, sometimes milliseconds between segment 1 and segment 2. Maybe there's a commercial.
Time.
Not a lot for, let alone selfies, let alone autographs or anything, right?
No.
She turned to me and she said, Thomas Farley, where have you been and why haven't we had you on this show before? And my producer was standing just offset, was beaming ear to ear. And it was just I was so nervous. I'm on the Today Show. Yeah. And she could not have been sweeter. And I really came to know and love Hoda, who I got to know super well, and Kathy Lee and Jenna. The whole Craig now at Today are just such a terrific team of people. They've really been great to work with.
Yeah, I've met a couple of them, and they are very, very nice.
They're as nice. And you know what I'll say also, and I know you talk a lot about TV people being nice. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the crews, or what you see on TV is somebody who's smiling and perky and lovely, and as soon as the cameras stop, the Jekyll and Hyde happens.
That happens.
Yeah, this was not the case whatsoever at Today. Or, of course, here I am sitting with you all these years after our first interaction. Yeah. You were perhaps even more delightful in person than we had the chance to explore in an on-camera interview. But so that's where it really kind of turned for me, and I thought, okay, I've been on the Today Show. Let me run home and see how many business leads I've gotten for being on the show. And we were talking about that segment. We're talking about awkward hugs. What do you do? What do you do if somebody awkwardly hugs you? How do you know? What do you do?
You're like doing this weird dance.
Yes,
I don't know.
Exactly. And we were demonstrating the hugs, and I got home, tumbleweeds, not a single email, and I had to remind myself, and it took a while for me to realize this TV work, which you love and which I, Thomas Farley, love and cherish. it's the reason I'm doing it is not because the people watching are thinking, oh, that man who just talked about awkward hugs, wouldn't he be a great speaker to bring into our company? Not to mention, a daytime television audience.
Right.
They're probably not HR professionals or sales managers. It's people who are home, maybe getting the kids ready for school, but they're also not in that mindset of thinking about that.
Oh, that's right, because those people are already in the office.
They're in the office. And if they're in the office and they have the TV on, they're probably watching CNBC or Bloomberg. So it took a while for me to realize and understand, okay, this is building my brand, but it's not advertising for me. And I'd get these, I don't know if you've seen these, you get these emails that would say, the ad equivalency of your 4 minutes on TV was $97,000. If you were to take out advertising to be.
Yeah, I've gotten some things for the podcast too, like, let me help you edit, like some weird pitch things, and I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, but they were basically saying, go look at this great exposure. The dollar value of what you just experienced was X. And I think, well, that's nice, but certainly not seeing it, still seeing lint at the bottom of the piggy bank.
Yeah.
So that's when I began doing all the corporate speaking work, the training workshops. It started out very narrowly in business etiquette for interns and for new hires, how to dress for the office, how to compose an email, the things that seem like, that were common sense for you and me, I'm sure, when we started out, that got a little bit lost along the way with the later generations and certainly post-COVID. So that's where it started. And now it's anything you can think of related to communication, presentation skills, media training. And I've worked with, Raegan, literally coal miners, Native American Indians, Wall Street bankers, Disney executives, and everyone in between. So it gives me such a wonderful pulse check on what's going on in the country, what people think, what bothered them, what they wish were different. So when I go on media and when I do have an interview, it's not just me plucking ideas from my head. I'm consistently hearing from readers, listeners, viewers, attendees to my sessions about what's bothering them, what they wish were different. So it gives me a really wonderful perspective on where we are. It's that pulse check.
Wow. So you go out. So basically you've created Mr. Manners.
That's correct.
When did you coin the Mr. Manners thing? When did that come?
I think it may have actually, I can't remember quite whether it was CBS or Fox, but one of the reporters.
I can understand be Fox. I could help you with that. Yes, we probably did do that.
It might have. One of the reporters said to me, gosh, you're a regular Mr. Manners, aren't you? And I thought, and I really, Raegan, I'll tell you, I thought long and hard before I even wanted to adopt that as a moniker for the very reasons that you stated earlier. You have that as your name, and boy, you would better make certain that you are at the tippy top of your game in every interaction you have with every person. Those thank you notes better be on time.
I did not even think about that level of responsibility now that you kind of have.
Yeah. And not to mention, you want to not make people feel awkward or uncomfortable.
Right.
You want to put people at ease.
Right. You don't, because then you don't want to be in a setting where people are like, I don't know what to say to this guy because he has all the manners and I'm probably screwing this up right now.
Yes. And I, let me tell you, anytime I sit down at a banquet dinner where I'm the sole attendee at a table of others who I'm meeting for the first time, the second they find out who I am, and I don't lead with that ever, unless they really dig and dig and dig, will they even get to that point? There's, oh gosh, can I change seats? Oh gosh, I don't know if I want to sit next to you, because they're very self-conscious about their dining etiquette specifically. And I just always say, look, there are other folks who will do that if that's what you're looking for. That's not me. If you have a question, I will happily answer for you. I know all the right things you should be doing. I will model them before you, but I'm not here to judge.
Wow. And what's really great too is that you know all of this because you've gone out to communities and you've observed and you've interacted. So you take this corporate job to communicate and kind of, and I guess consult, but then you also dip your manners training in with it too. So it's this whole entire presentation of self.
That's right. Exactly.
Wow. Okay.
It's been wonderful. I really feel there is no degree. We talked about political science. We talked about communication. There is no degree, even if I'd gone to a finishing school, which was, again, not a goal and I never have. But even if I'd done that, I don't think anything could have properly prepared me for where I am today it was all the experiences I've had along the way, and fashioning and taking detours and turning around and starting anew. And I feel very privileged and fortunate because I'm on a path. I feel so fulfilled each and every day, whether it's a fun TV interview or conversation, whether it's a podcast like this, which I absolutely love this.
Yeah,
it's so nice
fun
to have some time to explore.
Right.
or a workshop where people come up to me and say, you opened my eyes to something I had not considered before. And then a year later, I got a promotion thanks to the skills I learned in your workshop. That is what keeps me going and loving what I'm doing. And I want to be doing it when I'm 100 years old. Not 150, but I want to still be doing it when I'm 100.
No, I think it's awesome how you've been able to do that. I mean, you created this. And this wasn't a thing where you said, like, I'm going to be Mr. Manners. It just kind of happened.
That's right.
And you surrendered to it. You let go, let flow. You just found yourself here.
Yes.
Now in a podcast.
Yeah.
So we are going to do some situational scenarios. Is that okay with you?
I love it.
Okay.
I'll tell you, I am yet to be surprised that there are scenarios that I have not yet envisioned or considered that are out there that deal with etiquette. So bring it on. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to.
All right. And again, I'm not doing like a quick left-hand turn on anything. So I have my little reporter notebook. One does not leave home without it. It's true. I actually don't. Okay. So like we said earlier, obviously the holidays are upon us. And we are going to be at the dinner table or maybe just, sipping a couple of beverages before we sit down to dinner or whatever. Families are meeting, friends you haven't seen for a while, yada, yada. And politics is brought up. And as we know, we are in a very interesting political time.
Yes, to say the least.
Right, no matter where you stand. Okay, I'm all kumbaya over here, right? So let's say Crazy Uncle Joe, because you brought up Crazy Uncle Joe. My father's name is Joseph, actually. So, Dad, this is not about you. So let's say Crazy Uncle Joe is starting to go on about politics, whichever, whether Crazy Uncle Joe is all into the right or all into the left.
Yes.
How do you deal with that if you're here to have merriment, not that?
Well, what's really sad is, and particularly when it comes to the holiday of Thanksgiving, the surveys the last several years are that more and more people are skipping their holiday gatherings specifically because they don't want to deal with their version of Crazy Uncle Joe, whomever that might be. They don't want to deal with it. And sometimes it's politics, as we're about to discuss. Sometimes it's just those other awkward questions that come up, like, when are you having a baby? When are you getting married? All of those just intrusive. And it's, some of these people may only have one shot at you a year. This is their time to pounce. They're in person. It's harder to avoid the question and the conversation when they're sitting across the turkey stuffing from you.
Yeah.
So politics specifically, I take a little bit of a contrarian view here. I do believe that if we never discuss politics, we operate in a bubble that I don't think is healthy. So I do believe that discussing politics has a time and place, even with someone who thinks very differently from you. However, the table is definitely not the place for it because there are going to be other people at that table who either freeze up, feel very uncomfortable, have their blood boiling. So I do believe if your home affords it, to have a separate room and put this out there. Say you've got 4 political animals who are coming to your Thanksgiving gathering. Every year they lock horns, they're on opposite sides. Set up what I call the caucus room. So while everybody else is chit-chatting about the parade and enjoying the hors d'oeuvre, you go to a separate room with all of your political animals and you caucus and you discuss with one another your thoughts. You're not bothering anyone else with some ground rules. You're going to be respectful. You're not going to name call. You're going to listen. You're not going to interrupt. And ultimately, if you must, you end by agreeing to disagree. And I think that those conversations, let's face it, and I know you've seen it on Facebook and on social media, the escalated tensions, even a text message that can be radically misinterpreted.
Yes. Because
we lack the facial expressions, the vocal tone. I think if you're going to have this conversation at all, don't do it on the Facebook wall of Crazy Uncle Joe when he posts something crazy, whatever it is. Have those conversations face to face and maybe you come to some sort of an understanding.
I love that because a lot of people, like you said, they won't go though. They want to protect their peace. But that's also at a deficit because then you're not seeing people who really love you and want to, mingle with you and get, catch up with you and get to know what's going on in your life.
That's right. And I think truly, if you never are tasked with having to defend your beliefs on anything because you only speak to people who agree exactly the way you think, you never really question, well, wait, why do I think this way? And have I ever looked at that? That's where those conversations, I think, can be very helpful. You maybe just open the door a little crack.
Okay. The caucus room. I like that. I like that a lot. I never thought about that. Now we have to get crazy Uncle Joe into a caucus room. That's another feat in itself. Yes. All right. Okay. So estranged family members. We have an estranged family member who we want them to be at the event. They may come, they may not come. You've extended the invite. Let's say they do come. How do you handle that?
So one of the things I really love about Thanksgiving in particular, it is our least commercial holiday. When you think about the origins of it, and I know the original first Thanksgiving may have been slightly different than the Charlie Brown version that
just
we're told, but
so we hear.
Yes, so we hear. But nonetheless, if we're to at least cling to the ideal behind the fantasy and the way we interpret Thanksgiving today, it's not about buying presents. It's not about massive decorations. It's about sitting down and enjoying a meal together. And I think, and this is a step away from the estranged family member, but I think if you know there are people in your community who lived, the shut-in down the block, the senior citizen who or even just the neighbor who they're alone in that city and they don't have anywhere to go on Thanksgiving. I think one of the most wonderful things is if you can afford the space to have that come one, come all attitude and extend the invites to the people who are often overlooked. So if we're only populating it with our favorite cousins or our favorite sister or favorite brother-in-law, we're really missing an opportunity to do, I think, what Thanksgiving really should be, which is about bringing everyone together.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and celebrating and different perspectives. So the estranged family member, I would reach out personally. I would try and have a phone conversation rather than a text conversation because of what we were discussing earlier. There's a lot of context that can get lost. And I would be certain to alert your other guests, especially if there's one or more that has a particular conflict with this person. Don't have this be a surprise attack that they walk in and there's, crazy cousin Louise, who nobody was expecting to see there. Not that all of our relatives are crazy.
No, but it's I think it's a good title for now.
Yes. Abrasive cousin Louise, shall we call her?
Yes.
So I would advise, and I would just say, in the spirit of Thanksgiving, we have extended a full invite. We will be seeing. I'm pleased to announce we will be seeing so and so this Thanksgiving who we haven't seen in many years. And I hope everyone will be on their best behavior. I really think that's the way to go because you know what? The time passes too quickly. Why hold these silly grudges? How many times you hear somebody holding a grudge? They don't even remember why they held the grudge to begin with, but they just know they're holding it.
Yeah.
And I think that's really unfortunate. So if we can't break down those barriers for one day out of the year, Thanksgiving, I don't know, when else can we?
Okay. And then if Thanksgiving doesn't work, we can extend this even into Christmas or even have our own separate little gathering because it is the holidays.
Yes.
We have a good month of merriment.
And I think that's a great point. And maybe it's not even because the month of merriment does fill up very quickly. Maybe it's January when nobody has anything to do. Maybe you reach out in December and say, Liz, I know you won't be able to join us. I wish I'd see you. Or I know you've got a conflict with so-and-so, but I'd still love to see you. Could we find a date for lunch? Do you have your calendar? Let's pick a date now for January. Okay. And I think perhaps that starts to melt the ice with the rest of the family members. I
love that. Wow. Okay. So let's go back to the somebody's alone. So, it's funny because I who doesn't love the holidays, right? Everybody loves parts of it, right? Mm-hmm. Oddly enough, and maybe it's because I was exposed to so much as a reporter, I actually get sad about it. Mm. And I think I get sad because I think of people who may not have a lot of people around them circumstantially. Maybe something happened. There was a disconnect. There was a fight or something beyond their control. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And they don't have anybody.
Yeah.
And I just think of them and I I feel guilty and bad when I'm having my moments with loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to shake it. That's a me thing. But I definitely want to bring that up because what do we do for those who really don't have anybody? Like you said, the elderly neighbor down the street,
Mm-hmm.
The woman that you just casually had a chat with on a park bench and you found out she has no one.
Right. The single person who moved to a new city and doesn't know anybody yet.
Yeah. Like what do you, during the holidays, from Thanksgiving all the way into Christmas and New Year's, how do you address that?
I think it starts, honestly, with bringing the best version of yourself and the holiday cheer in all of your interactions. So maybe the stranger that you meet on the street, you will never see again. But have you put a smile on that person's face by not being grouchy? I think, and I know New Yorkers get a very, very bad rap, and we might have even done a segment, I think we probably did, on surveys on how rude are New Yorkers and are they really as rude as people think? But I think at the holidays, we really, all of us, New Yorkers and others alike, have the chance to be the best version of ourselves we can be. And I think if you're in a store and you smile at someone, you make eye contact with someone, that may be the nicest interaction they have all day. So I think it starts there. And then if it's someone that you have even a casual ongoing interaction with, can you extend some sort of a holiday gratuity, holiday bonus? If it's somebody who works in your building, for example, I think there are a lot of different ways we can extend the holiday spirit.
That's wonderful. Okay, let's see what else my little list has because I wrote these down today. What do we do with the guest that always makes a scene? A great friend of ours.
Yes.
I'm not talking about anybody I know, but I'm pretty sure
for a friend.
So I'm asking for a friend, but I'm digging around. We love this person. We want them at everything, but there's a point they get where there's a point of no return, and they are just either sloppy because they had too much of the sauce, and I'm not talking the marinara sauce, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Or, they get carried away with some story. I mean, who knows? How do we talk to that person, say, hey, so like, remember last year when you decided to make out with the plant? You might not want to do that because Sister Mary Joseph, who I invited, was a little offended. Like, how do we address that?
Yeah. So there are a bunch of potential problematic guests at a gathering, and this is one of them. And it's very often this person whirls in like the Tasmanian devil, and it's, you would not believe the traffic, and this happened and that. And you're thinking, okay, well, happy holidays to you too. So there's that. They suck all the energy out of the room, whether they're complaining or whether they want the spotlight.
Yeah.
With those folks, I like to give them a task, almost to me. John, could you come in? I need some help in the kitchen, chopping carrots, whatever it is. So you get them away from the main stage.
This is phenomenal. Okay.
Yeah, give them something to do, because that's very often they're very hyper perhaps, or they're ADD and they need something to do. In their case, it's talking and gaining attention. Give them the praise they're seeking. You are doing such a great job on these. Could I give you the celery now? Right? So you're keeping them out of the main stage. But then also, and a lot of hosts do not think about this unless they're having a formal dinner party, place cards. Think about where you are seating people. Don't leave it to chance. If you're worried that this hyper chatty Kathy is going to sit next to someone who won't get a word edgewise and wants to get in a word edgewise, seat them next to somebody who's maybe a little bit quieter and doesn't really like to talk so much, and maybe is delighted that they're sitting next to someone who's carrying the conversation when they wish they didn't have to. That won't happen by chance. But if you, as a host or hostess, think, I'm going to seat this one next to this one next to this one, and especially if you're inviting people like the next door neighbor or the elderly shut-in, no one has ever met these people before. You're the only one who knows them. Curate your table, and that is going to solve a lot of the problems.
I never thought of that. You're brilliant. Okay. Who else did I got? Oh, this one is something, because this happens a lot. And I have a girlfriend who just lost her dad.
Oh, that's rough.
Right. Yeah. So I have, sadly, when you get older, parents.
Sure.
And I have another friend who just lost her mom. And I have other friends who just have, there's always that empty place setting for years.
Yeah.
How do you address that?
especially if it's happened within the last year.
Yeah.
So this is the first Christmas without grandpa, or the first Christmas without Aunt so-and-so. I think I wouldn't, I mean, unless it's your faith tradition to do this, I wouldn't necessarily have an empty place sitting for them. I think that can be a little morbid.
Right.
But you're certainly feeling the lack of their presence at the table.
Yes.
I think there are a bunch of things that you can, so my father passed away. This is very near and dear to me. My father passed away December 1st of 2022. So
I'm sorry.
Several weeks, thank you. Yeah. And, his namesake and, just an amazing man. But so Christmas for us was only a few weeks later. And it was challenging to think about a holiday and a celebration that was so important and precious to him. Suddenly he wasn't there for us. So not, trying to do your best to get into the holiday spirit, but still very much grieving the loss of a very important person. And he was the patriarch in so many respects. His nieces and nephews and everybody adored him. So what we did was, and this was just kind of spontaneous, but everybody offered just a memory around the table. And it was beautiful. I think one of my cousins said, just tapped a glass and said, I just like to say, how different this is not having him here. I feel very much though his spirit, and I like to share a memory. And then just spontaneously, and it was multi-generational. The 10-year-old's great nephew said something, and the nieces, and it was really beautiful. It was for me as his son, for my mom and my siblings, it was really meaningful to be able to hear the impact that somebody had. So I think that's a wonderful way. And what better time than the holidays to do that when everybody's together? Right.
And what if, people can't get together because of distance, and, do you send a card? Do you call the person? How do you approach it? Because I feel like sometimes it can get a little, you don't want to intrude, but you just want to let them know, like, I'm thinking about you and I love you, and I know so-and-so's not here.
I'm so glad you're asking that question, because I have long believed that it's in the initial weeks and maybe months after someone's passing that there's just a torrent of sympathy cards and people bringing over dinners and, checking in on people. And then ultimately life intrudes and we move on to something else. Yeah. But these individuals perhaps are still very deep in their grief, and the holidays are really tough for that kind of a situation. So I think if you are close with someone, whether it's a friend, whether it's someone who's lost a parent or a grandparent, a spouse, I think it's a wonderful thing to check in on them. And gosh, how long does it really take? We spend so much time, I feel like the bar has gotten really low. It used to be we'd write a thank you note. Now we're lucky if we get a thank you text, or maybe even a thumbs up on a,
Right. Oh, thanks for the thumbs up on the emoji con, whatever that thing is.
Postcards are a non-thing. Yeah. Holiday cards, I still write them, but very often you're lucky if you get a singing, generic email card. So I think the fact is, if this was 1955, these little touches that we're discussing now, they would be very commonplace and they wouldn't really stand out. But I think in 2025, because they are so rare, people so seldomly take the time to do those personal touches, I think they mean even more than they ever did. And so I hope we never lose them, because they make a difference.
I like that. Bring back a little bit of that.
Exactly.
Let me see what else I have. Oh yeah. Okay. So we have a little bit more time. Gift giving. So we can go everywhere with this, but whether you're coming to an event to bring a bottle of wine or bread or a gift, or if there's a gift exchange and you didn't know, or maybe you don't have a lot of money this year. I know I don't, because this is my gift to everybody. But what do you do in gift giving land?
This, by the way, this looks like a $15,000 a month apartment in New York.
Yeah. Well, I'm not paying that for an hour stay, let me tell you.
With our just beyond the camera is the view of Central Park. Right?
Oh, yeah, it's wonderful.
On the 90th floor.
Yeah. Clear, beautiful day, not rain. Yeah. I like today.
Yeah, gift giving. So, as much as we maybe say it's the thought that counts, I think a lot of people don't even give it the thought. And that, I think, is unfortunate. So there are a lot of different areas we could go with this. But one I get asked on a lot is, what do you do if you are given a gift and you don't have anything for the other person? What do you say? How do you react? And people go into crisis mode. They're thinking, oh no, I forgot, or we've never exchanged gifts before. Why is this person suddenly giving me a gift? So it can be very awkward. And the go-to phrases that most people use in that kind of situation as the recipient are things that I advise you never to say. So they are, why did you go and do that? Or some version thereof. Or, oh, you shouldn't have. So think about if you break those two things down, you're basically scolding someone for doing something nice for you. So I get those out of our vocabulary. No, oh, you shouldn't have. Or why did you go and do that? Right? Like you're scolding the dog.
I never thought about that. Okay.
Yeah. And I think it's because we're feeling defensive. We're trying to maintain some sense of decorum, the fact that somebody's giving us something we don't have anything to give in return. So purge those phrases from the vocabulary. And instead, gratitude. Raegan, oh my gosh, you can say, I wasn't expecting anything. This is beautiful. Thank you so much. What a different way of conveying back rather than apologizing for 15 minutes. Oh, I meant to get you something. I've just been so busy.
Right. That's what I go. That's where I go sometimes. I'm like, I have you on a list.
Yes, exactly. I do recommend if you find yourself in that situation a lot, hopefully that's not anyone's scenario, but if you do, have that gifting closet at home with a ready-made, ready-wrapped, marked, but not written to whom it's going, generic enough gift that you can say, oh, I have your gift upstairs. And it's already, it's the candle, it's the bottle of wine, but it doesn't like you've just gone and pulled something out of your liquor cabinet and said, here, this is for you. But something that shows some thought and intention. So I think having at least a small sampling of gender appropriate, age appropriate, I call them emergency presents that you can give out, especially if you're in your home space or in the office. If you report to an office every day, you might have a colleague who gives you a present that you're not expecting. So I think being prepared in that way is nice, but nonetheless, no scolding.
Okay.
Show the gratitude.
Okay. And then maybe a thank you note.
Of course, a thank you note. Yes. And in the thank you note, you could say, I would love it if after the holidays, we could go out to lunch. I'd love to have you as my guest.
That is a great way if you don't have anything on hand.
That's right. That's right.
I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, I could keep going. I'm not going to because we do have to wrap it up, sadly. Is there any other piece of Mr. Manners' wisdom you would like to bestow upon the watcher and or listener?
I will say, and hopefully you've been gathering this, and I know you know this about me already, but people tend to think of etiquette. They hear that word. I often don't even use it. It's why I'm not Mr. Etiquette. I'm Mr. Manners. People hear etiquette and immediately like the hairs go up on their arms and they start to feel tense and they need to stand up straight and they need to be using their fork and knife correctly. The best etiquette of all, and Emily Post, who's kind of the doyen of all of this, she wrote guidebooks throughout most of the 20th century on how to address a wedding invitation and what to do in every scenario you might never even imagine was there. Emily Post had advice for you. Even she said she believes that the best etiquette of all is that which makes others feel better for your presence rather than worse, no matter whether you know what fork to use. And I feel that is, for me, that's the philosophy I abide by in all my teachings and what I always look to convey. If you make somebody feel better for your interaction rather than a worse version, if you're there judging them, if you're looking down your nose, if they haven't worn the right thing, if they've used the wrong fork, they're not going to feel better for your presence. They're going to feel worse. And that, I think, is the worst etiquette of all. So we want to know what the right etiquette is. We want to know what to do in these scenarios, but don't lord it over anyone else. You set the bar, you set the example, but you don't judge.
I love that. Now, if people want to reach out to you, they can.
Absolutely. I love questions, and the holidays are the time.
I was going to say, well, this is the time, if we didn't cover something that somebody's, hoping that I did, now they can reach out to you.
By all means, yes.
Okay.
So, and I know you'll share my socials and my website.
Mr. Manners, and that way you'll be able to know how to get in touch with my friend, Mr. Manners, also Thomas Farley. But I like him as Mr. Manners.
Or not Thomas Manners.
Not Thomas Manners. But hey, he might respond to that.
In another universe.
Right. I will always ask this because I don't want to not ask this to you. Hopes and dreams for you. Next step for you.
There is definitely a part of me that is still that 7-year-old boy who dreams of, and I know you would say, do not do it. You'd be crazy to attempt it given what's going on in the industry. I love television, broadcast TV as as a medium. I would not want to. I have the greatest admiration for people like you who, first of all, as a non-trained meteorologist who ultimately became a trained meteorologist, I have the great, standing in front of that green screen and knowing where you're pointing, that alone.
Yeah, I just do this. A lot of this and a lot of this.
Yes. But knowing high pressure and low pressure, and all the power to you.
Thank you.
But anyone covering fires and police, that's not for me. But I really do, I love the power that television, I believe, still has, even if it's not broadcast TV, using video to reach people. I really get a thrill out of it. So I'd love to be doing, whether it be a talk show or something, even a show on Sirius XM, something where I'm actually able to speak to these issues that, let me tell you, the subject matter, it never dries up. I thought when I said, okay, sure, Mr. Manners, I'll do this for 6 months because there will be nothing left to talk about. It's continual, especially, it's AI. There is constantly new issues and new angles to be addressed. And if not for when we had the pandemic, and I know we did these segments too, who ever even thought of anything remotely about pandemic etiquette? Suddenly it was something that we needed to talk about. And before there was any medical remedy or any distancing remedy, etiquette had to play a role for how we interacted with each other. So as civilization, as society tries to figure things out, etiquette and good manners are always there to guide us through until ultimately the rest of civilization catches up. So I think there's a lot of territory to cover, and I want to continue doing it to bigger and bigger audiences wherever possible.
I think you need your own podcast, to be honest.
I had one during the pandemic, and you're right. And when I do, you're going to be one of my guests.
Yes. Then
if you'll say yes.
Of course I will do a left-hand turn on some kind of etiquette thing that yes. I'll stump you. I'll get you. I'll get you somehow.
Please.
All right. Well, thank you so much for stopping by.
Such a pleasure. You are so gracious.
This was so great because we were on the phone figuring this out, and I think we talked for 2 hours.
I think so too.
Just chatting and catching up.
It was terrific. And we hadn't spoken in a couple of years.
Right.
But it was so nice to reconnect, and I felt so honored and privileged that you reached out to me. As one of your first your season 1 guests.
Yeah. Yes. You are of the season 1. Hopefully there will be a season 2. All right. Well, thank you so much. We usually wave to the camera. Thank you. See you later. Bye, friends.
Bye, all. You are such a good interviewer and conversationalist.
Stop. This was great.
Are.
Take what lands, leave what doesn't, and keep moving forward. Follow wherever you're listening, and if you are watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. It helps more than you know.